We saw a lot of profit on this trade, but unfortunately did give it back. It wasn't actually like a bad trade. The entire trade, throughout the entire duration of the trade, we were technically green. Now, I will say, like, this specific set of contracts that we bought, they just didn't have a ton of volume, didn't have a lot of open interest. There just weren't a ton of people trading them. The spreads were pretty large, and it was weird because we were, again, entry, exit. We were green, I mean, virtually the entire day, but it looked like we were really red at points of the day just due to the spread. The lowest point of these contracts was 0.42, but that could have just been like one or two people buying down there or one or two people selling down there, right? And then the highest point was 140. The highest point of day I was up, it was more than this. It's accounting for about 17,000. I was up about 22,000. And the lowest point, now this was weird. This was during last 15 minutes of market close. That spread started getting wider and wider. And all of a sudden at like just about 345, it looked like I was down almost 10 grand. And it even accounted for it on here, even though, you know, those contracts fair value was actually, it was like, I wasn't down that much, right? I think fair value on those contracts might have had me down around $1,000, $2,000, but it said I was down 8,400. I saw about negative 10,000 on my broker there. And so after being up about 20 and then just in about 10 minutes drawing down from being up 20,000 to only being up 2,000 and then essentially flat. Say high was 20,000 on the contracts, low was negative 10,000, my P&L. This is a $30,000 range for these contracts to move within an hour and a half. Not on a huge position. Like that range is more than the actual position itself. I was only in with 26,000, right? You can see broker fees and commissions were $464. Even though it was just a very small loss, looks a lot worse than it really was because of the commissions and fees, because I had so many contracts. I had 350 contracts. Very interesting day. Was in a little heavy as well. I should have only been in with 25,000 size. I was in with 26,250. So this really should have been a total break even. If you don't account for broker fees and commissions, I only should have lost broker fees and commissions if I was in with 25,000. When I was trying to get into the trade, because of the spread on the entry, I was having to adjust my limit order to get in. And again, like when we go to get in trades, please make sure you're going in with a limit order, because this will be the case sometimes. And if you had gone in market, you probably would have paid 20-30% more than you should have, and then these contracts were actually worth. And so I finally got a fill at 75 a contract. I was trying to get filled down at 60, moved back up to like 85. I saw 90s at 1 minute, at 1 second there, and within the couple minutes I was trying to get filled, and then got that 75 fill, which I was happy with, and obviously got out at 73 bucks a contract. For a second there, I thought I wasn't going to be able to get out of this trade. I'm not going to lie, it was 355 by default. I had, placed my order to close this position, and you can see I got out here at 356. Like 3.5 minutes left until market close. After seeing that I was down 10,000 because of the spread fluctuation, and I guess enough people were selling at that low. I don't know if this was you guys or what, but someone was selling down here, and that just made my P&L just tank. And luckily I was able to get out. This scenario doesn't happen that often where there's such a large spread with that much volatility, that few people trading the contracts, just because by default we do have rules in place. We're not gonna get super low volume, no OI contracts coming through the software. Like we just have defaults in place to make sure we're not getting contracts like that. As far as the trade though, like I said, we stuck to our plan. If I pull up the chart yesterday, we got super close to TP. We were sitting 0.4, okay, just about a half a percent. So off of our entry to the high, we moved up 3.5%. 0.5% up to TP would have put me at about a $33,000 day. And so that's a big difference too. Like I said, it was about 23,000, what I saw on the broker at one point. So another 0.5% would have added another 10,000 onto the P&L, and it would have been a great trade. Unfortunately, did sell off. VST was just heavily correlated with SPY yesterday. Sold off, little bounce at the close there, and then or bounce toward the close and then sell off into the close. Trying to get rid of those contracts right here was a little tough, but again, I'm happy with this trade just because I stuck to my plan. Even though I was up 20K, I didn't sell out of fear of, potentially drawing back down the 20K I was up. And that's what happened, but that's fine, right? So I know I'm trading with a size that I'm comfortable with at this point, and I'm, used to that volatility behind the contracts that we are trading. Well, seeing those fluctuations is tough. Like, I'm not gonna lie, getting that close to a take profit is hard. It's all about probabilities, and that's totally fine. If we didn't end up hitting TP, which we obviously didn't, I'm fine with that. If we hit stop, I was fine with that. We got out break even, which honestly was like best case scenario. I think we could have drawn down, more if we had lost our entry, our long, entry. Well, I guess that's when the order came through on the software, right? But I got in a little later. Software buyer got in at $70 a contract. So this guy, whoever bought these contracts on the software yesterday, was never red, and they might have gotten out for a 70% profit. So we're up about 70% at this point. I don't want to spend too much time and go through every trade that I take like I just did, but I think it was an interesting trade. It was definitely an interesting scenario. Again, takeaway is just like, don't go in market order. Like, just make sure that unless there's like enough people trading the contracts, try to go in limit. That's one. And then two is, I guess, just, stick to the plan and follow the process there.